Hello there, everybody. Here we are. We're live here with Mr. Capaldi. Phone dinging off the hook. There we go. All right. So we're here today. We're going to be talking a little bit about King Kratz, the deletion of the videos from his channel. A very, very, with it supporter out there had copies of all of them. And so it turns out in reviewing them now, there's an image that has been kind of discovered in the videos that if you change your brightness at a certain point in there, you can see a picture that it looks somewhat pixelated and a little bit weird, but it looks very much like Anthony Porter from Murder in the Park. And, it's been getting talked quite a bit about over on Twitter and all that sort of stuff. This is how I was aware of it, even though I was out of town for 2 days and working, 11-hour days. But I was kind of aware of this happening. So Paul's here. He's been following along with it. He's, been checking it out and everything. And so we're going to talk a little bit about it today, because I think for an image like that to appear in one of King's videos is, to me, kind of pretty much a little bit telling. I mean, there seems to be this relationship between Sean Reck and King Kratz, and my criticism of Sean Reck, and I will be watching Convicting a Murderer. I know some people out there are of the opinion that they won't be watching it, but me personally, I will be watching it. Mm-hmm. But I'm wondering why. See, if I was Sean Reck and I got the notion in my head, and if I was a filmmaker and I got the notion in my head to do a documentary about this, I would want to do something that's kind of, the name would be down the line fair. Like, I want to take an honest look at, the facts and the evidence and whatever type of an attitude. But to go ahead and call it Convicting a Murderer charges it right out of the gate that it's pretty much charged one way. The filmmakers in MAM have always said they tried very hard to remain kind of in the middle, and they have pointed out on several occasions, they've added all the main things that the prosecution had in their case. Okay, they didn't go into every little piece of minutia, but they didn't do that really on the defense side either, every little piece of minutia, but they hit the main points that the prosecution was hitting, that they wanted the jury to know. And so they were trying to tell both sides. So for me to see Convicting a Murderer come out to be so charged towards, the state of Wisconsin, in light of everything we've seen there, it's hard for me to imagine how he came out like this, just so charged in wanting to tell the state's side, and being, so for me, I found that odd, and maybe there is a connection between him and Ken. It's hard to say, but yeah, this image appearing in one of Ken's videos is interesting. And then the fact that he deleted all of them, that it's the suspicious activity that leads to further, speculation and that sort of thing. So I want to say hi to everybody real quick here. I know we've got Mandy Coate. I'm sorry, she's told me how to say that. I believe it was Cote. And we've got Miss Wee Lassie. Hello, how you doing? Terry Kaznopfall. I hope I didn't slaughter that. Hello,
you probably did.
Hey, Mystical Jinxie. Let's see. Hello, Being Green. Haven't seen you in a while. Lil Barb, how you doing? Sharon, hey there. Hey, Sharon, you fancy a chat after Paul and I are done here off the air? Let me know.
Oh, you like the Scottish lasses, don't you, eh?
Let's see. Hello, Matzer. Hello, Jane. Hello, Carl. Hello, Alex. Hello, Kim. Hello, Mary. How's everybody doing? Fair enough. So obviously, okay. So hi everybody, it's great to see you here. So yeah, I mean, It's interesting that we would see that image in a video made by Ken Kratz that is about Avery and Dassey, uh, and making a murderer in Wisconsin. So I mean, so what have did you actually get it on your TV and do the brightness trick and
I did, but can we just rewind a moment?
Sure.
See when you pronounce my name, it's Paul Capaldi. It's not Mad Havering Scotsman. Okay, that's how you pronounce it. Okay.
Wait. According to my Facebook Messenger, it's Donnie Van de Havering.
That's some strange Dutch fella. That's not me. No, I did do that. I was okay. Let's rewind. I was alerted to this. Obviously, the Ken Kratz. Obviously, when the Ken Kratz videos started up, we watched them with a certain amount of interest. I don't know about you, Erekose, but I felt that it was purely the videos were purely an exercise in trying to promote his book. So right. I wasn't unduly surprised when it was Fen from 80 More Things that first alerted us as a group that the videos had all been removed from Ken Kratz's channel. What I did find strange was that
she's on the ball, that one.
Oh yes, absolutely, yeah. I didn't find it that strange because I thought, well, maybe as far as book sales was concerned, they probably didn't sell that many to begin with back in October, and all but dried up. I didn't see much point in him having any more videos to try and promote his book. And then it was just a couple of days after that, lo and behold, we get this. I get this message from a Discorder that's an excellent Discorder called Xteen, who had, and I don't quite understand, what Ken Kratz is playing at, but clearly for anybody watching his video on, say, a computer screen or a normal phone, you can't adjust the brightness up. But for somebody watching it on a proper TV screen where you can adjust the brightness, obviously for some reason Eckstein had the brightness turned up and was perturbed by an image that at first, it's like, could that be Teresa Holbach, a deceased Teresa Holbach? Well, when I was asked about it, I said, well, it could be, because I can't prove that it isn't. Mm-hmm. And there was one, and the question had been posed to some other people, to get their opinion. Luckily, within, I would say, an hour of me doing a video about it, it was the Hod himself, Sharkbait, over there in Sharkland. He said jokingly, he said, do you not think that looks more like Jimi Hendrix?
Right.
And immediately then I thought, wow, hold on a sec. What about Anthony Porter? So I looked up photos of Anthony Porter, because I remember when I watched A Murder in the Park, and there's this guy with the long black hair coming down.
Right.
Sure enough, I think we're pretty much agreed. I would say we're pretty much agreed, unless anybody thinks differently. I would say we've pretty much agreed that it's a picture of Anthony Porter.
Yeah, it looks very much so. Yeah.
Now, the significance of that, of course, is that we all know that over a year ago, Ken Kratz was promoting both the Murder in the Park documentary by Sean Reck, but also the fact that Sean Reck is doing his documentary called Convicting a Murderer.
Right.
And so, could it be that it was some sort of subliminal message? I don't know if you're familiar with the idea.
Well, yeah, I know what you mean. Like they claim that like movie theaters used to insert like little like for 0.3 of a second they would show you like popcorn or a soda or something while the movie was playing, but it's so quick your conscious mind doesn't pick it up, but your subliminal mind does. That's the claim anyway.
That's probably the best explanation I can come up with, so I will not try and come up with anything other than what you've just said. So whatever he said, that's what I'm going with. But yes, I remember an episode of Columbo which had that same idea. The guy wanted to go out for a drink because of the fact that he'd seen this image. I think it was of like peanuts and stuff, salty stuff that as you say, for a fraction of a second, as you say, you don't immediately recognize it, but for some reason there's some part of the brain that does.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, for me, what's important is, what does a murder in the park tell us? What's the whole point of the murder in the park documentary? Well, it's an amazing story, for one thing.
Mm-hmm.
The fact, obviously, that somebody who has been found guilty and has been on death row for 17 years, suddenly there is this one little bit of information that completely changes the game is ridiculous. There was like no due process gone into as to, and any kind of, we need to check this out. We need an evidentiary hearing. We need all this kind of stuff. It was just immediately let the guy out.
Mm-hmm. That's odd. I mean, considering that doesn't happen.
It doesn't. But
so it's like, why did it happen there? That's
I think the reason was because there had been a lot of publicity around about that time of. I believe it was people who had been wrongfully convicted, and it was also the fact that I think there might have been some people actually executed who were innocent,
mm-hmm.
who were then proven innocent, and it just struck a chord with the public. Obviously, back then, I mean, it still does. Obviously, the whole idea that somebody is innocent and you go and execute them,
right?
That's dare I say it, the number one reason why most civilized places have dropped the death penalty, because you will get mistakes, and you need to rectify that mistake, and if you can't rectify that mistake, what does it say about the society that we live in?
Well, that's a problem. But then again, there's some places, for instance, I think it's like Brazil, that have a law where nobody can spend more than 25 years in prison. And so they've let serial killers walk free after 25 years because they don't have the death penalty and they don't keep anybody incarcerated for longer than 25 years. So that's always been something that kind of a little bit concerned me. One very bad, notorious one in particular, that happened it was in South America. I believe it was Brazil. So that was a little troubling for me. But anyway.
Well, I mean, the thing is that I know that in America they do have a parole board, don't they? So that some people can, if they've murdered somebody, they do have the opportunity of getting out years later,
mm-hmm.
once they've served their debt to society, as it were.
Right.
Whether 25 years is long enough, that's not for us to say, is it? It's like, we're not we're not trying to say that we should decide that. It has to be up to the wherever you live. But 25 years doesn't seem right. I mean, I know that here in the UK, some of the most heinous crimes were like of Myra Hindley and Brady and a few other people. They're not getting out. They have been sentenced to life in prison, and unless they get some sort of recommendation to be released, they will stay. They will stay there. I know that it's the Home Secretary here in the UK that decides if some of these prisoners will ever be released, and you know,
Yeah.
basically that's not going to happen. I mean, sure, yeah, you don't want if
Right. I mean,
yeah, I can see
that's the kind of stuff that I was, when I worry about.
I can see a kind of bizarre headline. A man who murdered so many hundreds of people is let out after 25 years. That's not going to happen, is it?
Right. So I'm just saying,
But
in fairness, I think the death penalty is something you can't undo. And our current justice system has enough reason to doubt its consistency in getting it right. I think there's enough cases that are being discovered by the Innocence Projects and by the Nyrider Drizens, the Barry Schecks, the Kathleen Zellners, the Reardons, the whoever's, all these various lawyers out there that are working with wrongful convictions and building the stats up and showing how much our system's getting wrong. It seems like the death penalty is a bad idea when the stats are showing you're getting it wrong a significant number of times. So that's just my thoughts why the death penalty is problematic.
Yeah, it's I didn't really want to sort of get too much into this side of things because it's I just don't see any point in a death penalty, because if you really want to punish somebody,
right?
For me, and for likes of Henry Lee Lucas, he saw it as at one point as a way out. It was like his way of being executed by the state, and that would solve everything for him at one time in that, like so the Confession Killers. If you really want, if you're going to try and punish somebody, or by all means punish them, keep them in prison for the rest of their life, and don't let them out if the crime is that heinous.
Mm-hmm.
That for me is the ideal punishment.
Well, yeah, it's unpleasant to be locked in a cage with other people, other folks that are maybe inclined to violence and various things. I mean, it's not a pleasant thing. So
and don't execute people like some of the, dare I say it, the Ted Bundys just because you want revenge. Try and get as much out of these people as possible. Some of these guys, as evil as they are, that they have got information
mm-hmm.
that they are, because of the situation where they're in, that they will share that information, and everybody will, in the long term, will benefit from that information. Yeah.
Well, that I think they could have probably spent a little more time with Ted Bundy. I mean, because he actually did do all the things that he was convicted of, and a lot more, in my opinion. There's a certain amount we could learn about the psyche of these kinds of serial murderers and or serial criminals. There's a lot we could learn from them. So it seems a shame that we killed off Ted Bundy so quickly. I mean, and I'm not saying he deserved leniency. I'm not saying that he's a great guy. I'm not saying that, I'm not none of those things. I mean, Ted Bundy's a bad dude, but picking the brain of people like that who ended up going down that path is something that could prove very useful for our society and hopefully help us to figure out how those cases come up, what kind of, how, or at least give us indicators and give us an indicator of where to look to help try to, prevent that kind of stuff moving forward. So it makes sense that to be more well informed. Once again, want to reiterate, not because I think Ted Bundy's a good guy or deserves some kind of leniency or anything like that. It's absolutely not the case. It's strictly for society's benefit that I say it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the guy that interviewed both Ted Bundy, Hugh, the journalist fellow that was also in The Confession Killer, his name was Hugh. I forget his first name, but everybody knows who I'm on about. He was there in the sheriff's office and watched everything that was going on. Somebody will know the name. I mean, Hugh. Doesn't matter. You've got this guy, Henry Lee Lucas, claiming that he did all these murders, and everybody can learn from him. And you've got this, this interview with him on television where the guy's saying, "This guy is a serial killer. You wouldn't know that because he's just looks like a normal person. He's pleasant to speak to, and all this kind of stuff." And it's like, well, yes, dude, because he's not the serial killer that you think he is. But Ted Bundy was the serial killer that you think he is, and therefore, that's the sort of person that you want to get as much information out of him as possible. Anyway, getting back to A Murder in the Park and Our Story Simon. As I was saying, back then, wrongful convictions, people being proven innocent, and the death penalty being on the go. This inspired David Protest of the Northwestern University. It inspired him to set up in conjunction with a medical school, to set up an innocent project exercise, a project, to get. I think what they were trying to do, which is noble, was to try and highlight the death penalty and get rid of the death penalty because people were being executed that shouldn't have been. So, as I've always maintained, David Protest and the students, their cause was a noble cause. I have no problems with that. It was just the fact that they introduced this private investigator called Paul Cialini, who was just he got in touch with some other people. He got other witnesses who were there to change their stories and say, this Our Story Simon, he was the one that did it. Right. And eventually went to Our Story Simon's house posing as a policeman.
Yeah.
And when you watch Murder in the Park, actually threatening him, draws his gun out. I mean, he's dressed in uniform and everything, draws a gun out and gets the guy to make this confession. And this guy, Our Story Simon, was in prison for 15 years before they let him out.
Right.
Of course, the point is that Ken Kratz sees this documentary done by Sean Reck based on this story of Tony Porter and Our Story Simon. He sees this as an example of do-gooders being misguided, and that is his whole idea. Is that we are the misguided ones? We've basically backed the wrong horse. That somehow there's this similarity between Anthony Porter and Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey, and that's his whole reason. For me, that's the whole reason why he's put this image, embedded it into the video, is to draw attention to our story, Simon, and the murder in the park. Now, whether things have panned out the way he intended it to or not, I have no idea. You know, was he hoping? My question would be, was he hoping when he first did that video that somebody said straight away, what's this picture that I see in the text? You know, when the screen goes dark and it is just the text running across the screen. And unless you're watching on, say, a laptop or a phone where you can't change the brightness. But if you're watching on a TV where on the menu, you can go to brightness and you can enhance it greatly. I believe that Dr. Siltman reckoned about 98%. You know, I mean, that's near enough 100%. So just whap it all the way up. And you can clearly see this image that for me, because of the hair, because of the way the hair sort of is dark hair coming either side.
Yeah, right.
You can see
it's like
how some people would take that as being, my God, is that who I think it is? Is that Teresa Holbach? Well, obviously, you have to be very careful about saying it is Teresa Holbach. You know, based on that image, you can't say that. I don't think we did. I think we made it quite clear. You know, have a look at that image, see what you think.
No, I think it looks like Mr. Porter. I mean,
Mr. Porter, absolutely. Yeah.
It's like the part in the hairs right there, and it's. I mean, obviously, the picture that people are getting from their TV is, you know, the pictures I'm seeing of it are a little bit pixelated, but you can still see it. The main outlines of all the shapes of Anthony Porter. I mean, it's pretty much a dead ringer. So, yeah. If folks, it's over on Twitter. Who's the one that's tweeting about it? X-Teen, right?
X-Teen, yeah.
Yeah, so folks, go look over at X-Teen on Twitter. Let me see if I can get you guys a link here real quick. Hold on.
Perfect.
I think maybe she goes by a different name on Twitter. Well, let's see here. Yeah, brother. Let's see here. Am I going to be able to find it? Let me see here. It's over on Twitter. There it is. Okay, so here. All right, so here's a link to Joris74. Wonder if I could put that up. Anyway, here's the link, folks. You can go check it out yourself.
I mean,
so this is a tweet that has the picture that somebody took off of their TV after they played with the brightness. You're going to see it's a little bit pixelated, but you're going to see that it looks very, very much like an actual picture that side by side of Anthony Porter, and you can see where it all just the shapes line up and everything. So,
yeah. So, and anyway, what I said to X-Teen when it first came up was, well, that's interesting. What if it's a picture, as was suggested at first, that this was a picture of Teresa, then obviously it begs the question, well, where did Ken Kratz get that from? So one of the things that I said was, well, this David Facilian, who's done the soundtrack to the video, maybe he would know something about the video, you know, about it being put together. Maybe, you know, once the video had been put together, maybe he was sent it and he added the music to it. Well, no, it seems as if David runs a website whereby people can go and buy his music for use as a soundtrack, which is fine. I mean, look, I don't think the content of the video when the circus came to town is at all good. It's a stupid video, but let's face it, some of the soundtrack to what he did was excellent. As I said to David when I sent him an email, I said, your music is excellent. But he didn't know who Ken Kratz was. He said, I don't know what Ken Kratz is, not who Ken Kratz is. So, if I was putting music out there on the internet for people to purchase, if I'm getting music purchased, I'm getting a notification of, such and such has bought your tune, such and such has bought this tune. Mm-hmm. There was clearly, as far as David was concerned, there was no, in his mind, he had never come across the name Ken Kratz before as having, purchased his music.
Right.
Which I think, is interesting. I sent him the link to the video. He didn't recognize, as I say, the name of Ken Kratz. Yeah. Which then leads us to think, well, who put the video together? Did Ken Kratz put the video together? Did Leah do the video? Some people seem to think that they've had information that Leah Kratz was the one that put the videos together.
Right. Well, there's that theory. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's quite a mouthpiece over on Twitter.
Yeah, but supposing I've just noticed
everybody recognizes that sound.
Well, yeah, that's the sound of. I did have a Dr. Pepper the other day.
Right, you told me you were trying to give it away.
I did give it away to a little girl who I thought I was giving it to her as a treat, and she took it away. And when she came this morning, I said, "Did you like your can of Dr. Pepper?" And I said, "You can be honest." She said, "No, I hated it." I said, "What did you do with it? Did you give to the rest of the family?" She said, "No, Granny tipped it down in the sink." So, so I'm in her bad books already.
What can I say? You guys will only accept Iron Brew.
Yes.
Iron Brew gets you through.
It does. It really does. So, it's as I say, it does raise the question: why is that image there? Could it be that it was Sean Reck that helped put that video together? Could be, might not be. I mean, the bottom line is, I don't even know if Ken Kratz knew that when he removed all his videos, was that getting rid of them all, or did he realize that other people had made copies? I mean, I know for a fact Millbilly has told me that he's done copies of the Ken Kratz videos. One can see all of the Ken Kratz videos on a site called N64 Controller. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm quite happy to share that right now. The link to N64 Controller.
Travis wants to know if you're making that person who Ken Kratz used his music, if you're making that person aware that Ken Kratz used their music.
Well, I can only imagine that he would have had to report it. You can only buy that music, and the fact that his David Filation, is that his name? Is being credited at the end of the video. Mm-hmm. It's not like he's trying to hide the fact that it was this David Facilian that was actually supplied the music. Mm-hmm. So yeah, clearly, Ken Kratz is not trying to hide the fact that this music came from this David Facilian, and you can go on and you can listen to samples of his music, but you can also go and buy his soundtrack, and then you can use it. But let me just quickly do this. This is the. I'm just going to share the link of David. N64 controller. This is one of the places. This is one of the places where you can go and check out the video still, because although Ken Kratz has removed all his stuff, you can still watch all of the videos. So there we go. There's the link to David. What's his name? Facilian. Felician. That's it. Falysyan. Felician.
Right.
But to be honest, I don't know if David is going to be able to offer any more information other than the fact that, that's my music. I don't know if he can offer anything else, because, as I say, he didn't recognize the name Ken Kratz. Maybe if I wrote to him again and said, you don't know if a Mr. Sean Reck has ever downloaded a piece of your music? Well, I've already mentioned to him that there was, that Sean Reck is one of the guys that's done this film. I've yet to hear back from him. Here is a thought. Could Ken Kratz remove himself, let alone his videos? I'm sure someone on Mars would safeguard the women of this world. Well, yes.
It's a nice accordion there.
Yeah, it is a very nice. It's a Crucianelli.
There you go.
There you go. It's a very nice accordion.
How's it going, Derek?
Yeah, he's doing all right. It's Derek Dazza. Dazza, that's his name. Dazza, not Derek Dazza. Get it right. So anyway, let's look at this from the sort of the most innocent point of view that it could be. Yeah. That maybe Ken Kratz is merely having a little bit of fun with us in putting that image, knowing that somebody at some point is going to find it, and they're going to say, "Could that be Teresa?" That's one possibility. And then
it was going to turn out being something that would support his argument in the end, it would have been a guy who was wrongfully released from prison instead, or something.
No. So
I mean, I can see maybe the psychology of trying to do something like that, but
no. So going to get back to what.
Yeah, go ahead.
Obviously, Travis has mentioned, and which I was very aware of, was that there is this. The Sweaty Prize is obsessed with trying to tell everybody you are suffering from confirmation bias. So don't look at that image with the idea that could that be Teresa Holbrook? Oh, it is. Yes, it is. It's a little bit like the Teresa St. John, the Canadian one,
Canadian lady,
it's like the number of people that go to that and they say, "Oh, that's definitely her."
There's a strong resemblance, but I don't know. It's
There is. They reckon that for everybody on the planet, we have got 7 doubles that are completely unrelated.
Sure, or that just look similar. Sure, I mean, facial features are can be similar, things like that. I mean, given the number of people in the world, To
the 6 other people that look as good as me, I say congratulations. But and to the 6 people that
working on that beauty sleep for
like
Rip Van Winkle,
to look like the good dude, I say commiseration.
Oh man.
Oh dear.
Well, Chloe, that was one thing we were thinking about. Why did he actually remove them? I mean, it's in his scrambling is where and then this gets found. It's like, okay, well, maybe this is what he was trying to hide. Maybe he was, maybe he's done promoting his book. He realizes that it didn't work, and now he just wants to get all that out. Could be maybe the DOJ said, Ken, could you take those things down? You're really causing us problems.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It could have been a number of things, really. I'd be intrigued to know, but it raises questions, though, the fact that they are removed.
Yeah, I don't see how removing them kind of here's the irony, of course, is the fact that if you remember, a certain guilter called Tess Sanders was telling me I need to remove that video where I named her because that's an infringement of her. What was it? Of her.
It was libel privacy, or no slander because you were doing it in video.
Yeah, privacy of her privacy, and I'm still waiting on YouTube getting in touch with me. I'm still waiting on her lawyers.
Right?
Yeah, I'm still waiting. Apparently, they're being flown by plane as we speak from America to lock
since last weekend, I think.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and they're going to lock me up right next to Stephen Avery for forever and a day. So I'm still waiting on that, but surely, Ken Kratz knew that even removing the videos, everybody's seen them.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Most of us have, yeah.
Exactly. The point about the hidden image. Maybe it was a subliminal message. Maybe it was also just his weird sense of humor of the fact that he's because in one of the videos that he does talk about a murder in the park, doesn't he?
He does. He has, yeah.
Yes.
That's why I see this affinity between him and Sean Reck, and it just makes me wonder.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? I wouldn't be too hard on Sean Reck because a murder in the park, I don't see any way in which he has slanted it one way or the other. I just see a very much a Making a Murderer type documentary, albeit it's only an hour and a half. It can't go into the same sort of detail as Making a Murderer. We don't get to know all of the ins and outs. I mean, let's face it. Guilters hate this, but Murder in the Making a Murderer is up there, like towering above every other documentary, because of the fact that we have 20-hour-long episodes that give you all the detail, and you've got this community out there, this worldwide community, who have watched it, and unlike what the fact that guilters like to say, oh well, you've been duped by Netflix, you've just watched a documentary. No, we've actually spent a bit of time trying to find out a little bit more about this. I know people that have, like Millbilly, who's watched thousands and thousands of hours, listened to thousands and hours worth of phone calls, and posted them. Right. We all know of people out there that have done, loads and loads of work on it. All I ever did was have a few chats with Sheriff Herman. That was enough to convince me. Stephen and Brendan are guilty. You chat with the number one guilter, and you ask him the awkward questions that Ken Kratz refuses to answer. They're hiding something.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a brain surgeon to know that he is embarrassed. Yeah. He was totally embarrassed.
Well, they should be. I mean, they ran this crap investigation on somebody they had already wrongfully convicted once. Yeah. I mean, they asked for every bit of scrutiny and crap that they are getting. They asked for it. They totally asked for it by running that crap investigation.
Yeah, yeah.
And I advise all law enforcement across the nation, if you ever find yourself in the position of trying to convict somebody that you've already wrongfully convicted once, better make sure you do a good investigation. Don't just phone it in. Yeah. So.
Yeah. You know, I was wondering, obviously, of course, if maybe Kratz had kind of, well, had put that image in there in the hope that somebody would find it, that they would then, as I say, oh, that looks like Teresa. Yeah, that really looks like Teresa. And then everybody would keep going on about this. Yeah, it's Teresa. It's definitely Teresa. Within an hour, because of Mark's comment, I'd already checked. It's Anthony Porter. Maybe he never thought that anybody would figure out straight away what the image was. I don't know, but I can't help thinking that might, you know, that might have been one of the scenarios that might have played out where he could try and discredit
or humiliate,
or
right,
yeah,
or make to look foolish. You know, that's
exactly.
That's what I can see as his ploy there.
You know,
he could get everybody talking about it. You know, maybe he didn't think people would figure it out that quickly.
Yeah.
And maybe he thought he would get everybody talking about it, like he had put something in there, blah, blah, blah. And then it would have turned out being Anthony Porter, who was somebody who was released unrightfully. Right. Yeah. And then that would have been like a smack in the face of everybody who was trying to figure out what it was. Right. But because it got figured out so quickly, I think if that was his plan, it backfired.
Well, here's the thing. We all know Ken Kratz on YouTube goes under another name.
Oh, well, yeah.
Charles, darling.
You reason that. I believe it's possible, but I'm not declaring it as fact.
I cannot declare it as fact. Okay, I don't know this to be true, but what I would say is that, you know, when he comes on at me about the
Max Ken to the hilt.
Yeah, when I was going through the videos of you know, talking about Judge Duffin's decision. When Charles Darwin comes on to me and says, do you know what? Do you not think it's strange that Judge Duffin cited work by Drizzen and Leo? And yet, you know, and he comes back at me about the fact that, you know, it's not like the Seventh Circuit quoted Ken Kratz's book. And I'm like, seriously, dude, you really think the Seventh Circuit are gonna quote that pile of garbage?
And you're gonna put Drizzen and Leo on Kratz's level? You're gonna equate that to being the same level? I mean, what? I'm sorry. When was Drizzen's sexting scandal? I don't remember.
Oh well, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah. It was Ken Kratz that pointed it out and said, you know, about the citing of this article by Drizzen and Leo, and it's called the False Confessions in the Post DNA World.
Right.
So as I say, I've done a load of videos about that, and the fact that it was Charles Darwin that mentions this, it's like, yeah, okay, I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure that it's Ken Kratz, and we've known Charles Darwin for a long time, haven't we? You know. But anyway, he replied to me in another video. So I've got it up here ready to go. Oh no, I haven't. Oh, hold on a sec. Two seconds. Let me find it. Yeah, hold on a sec. I'll need to go back and find it.
No worries, man.
Here we go. And this was something that Travis did send me a reply to as well. Charles Darwin replied, you should talk about something relevant, like Andrew Colburn getting an evidentiary hearing. This is in reply to the video that I posted where I showed how you can turn the brightness up and you'll see Anthony Porter.
Right.
Isn't it remarkable that Andrew Colburn was more capable of getting an evidentiary hearing than Kathleen Zellner? Why do you suppose that is? So obviously the reply was, "Hi Ken, having seen the corruption in Wisconsin in this case unfold over the last 4 years, nothing is remarkable." But I believe Travis had another response to that. Can you remember what that was? He replied with another message about the fact that, you know, that there was something about Michael Griesbach should check his his payments
insurance, something or other. Yeah, okay, I do remember him saying that. Yeah. It'll probably pop up here in chat now that we referenced it. He'll say it here.
Yeah. So who knows? Who knows what game Ken Kratz is playing at? The fact that he hasn't. That was it. That was the only response I got, and it was through the name of obviously Charles Darwin. But
right,
you know. It's dare I say it, it's funny how I get more response from the other side than I sometimes do from the other side. But anyway, it's
what I've been seeing lately is Playlist.
Yeah.
Have you seen him recently?
Oh no. Is that one of the guilters?
Yeah. Playlist.
Yeah. That'll be
I was just thinking, I haven't seen Playlist in a while, so I was just, you know.
Yeah, I remember them. Yeah, I mean, the one that I've never seen for ages is that Scott Yuck. I haven't seen him for ages.
Scott Yuck.
Yeah. As I say, I'm still waiting on news from YouTube about the Tess Sanders situation. Just stating the truth. You know, I have a certain sympathy for one or two of the guilters because they were simply just duped by that press conference. You know, if dare I say, and this is probably a bizarre generalization, but if you are the sort of person that agrees with a death penalty, and you are presented with this narrative by Ken Kratz that this person was responsible for doing this, and this, and we've got a confession that confirms it. You know, if you are going, I would say, to back the idea that this guy's guilty. We don't just need to lock him up. We need to get him off the planet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I get that. Sorry, what was it that Travis?
He was saying, well, this is the first thing. Said the fact that they got an evidentiary hearing or an evidentiary hearing wasn't good for Colburn. Yeah. And then he says,
all right.
Colburn has to pay the cost of the process servers coming out to Wisconsin to prove how and where they served producers.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting, I guess.
Depends, doesn't it? I mean, you know, the fact you've got Colburn and Griesbach and Al doing all this makes you wonder, you know, maybe they are getting supported by the state to do this. Maybe this is the last hurrah of the state to try and, you know, I mean, this whole idea of this civil suit is this a little bit like you've got Vic Purcell going to Colonel Adams saying, you need to look at this because this is just bizarre. Colonel Adams turned around and says, we're not going to stop looking at this, but we are going to look at you. It's like a retaliatory thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, it's like, you dare question us?
Yeah.
You foolish mortal?
Yeah.
It's what it's like. You know, yeah, very
How,
much
how,
so.
how dare you question us?
Yeah, that's why I threw in the foolish mortal, because it actually also shows how grandiose the director of the Texas Rangers, felt in his own mind by, kind of being, saying it that way. It's like, it's
Well,
almost like that, like he's
yeah,
lording it.
yeah. If you're solving, 200-300 cold cases, to a certain extent, you are this hero.
Solving.
You are a hero. Yeah, exactly. But you're a hero. And for a lot of people, they believed that Henry Lee Lucas was this terrible killer, to the extent whereby when it seemed as if he was going to avoid the death penalty,
Mm-hmm.
they started this vigilante group of trying to get George. No, get it right. George W.
Yeah.
Yeah, W. They were trying to get W to intervene and not to give him, not to release him from death row.
Well, there was the people. Well, he was
Yeah,
on death row. There was the people that were trying to get him off death row, and then once George Bush granted him, clemency and whatever, stayed the execution to life in prison, those people then got upset and formed their group and all that sort of
Volt.
stuff. And easy killer. Look, dude, they have a right. They were in pain. They were victims. Their loved ones were killed, and they didn't get proper justice. So they had a little bit of a right to be a little bit pissed, right? And hey, at least George Bush did the right thing, because when they eventually raised their stink and they said, look, and they wrote their letters to him, and George Bush finally said, you know what, because he didn't want the black eye of it while he was trying to run for president, and he offered the olive branch and said, you know what can I do for you to help you?
And does that not ring so true in Wisconsin? If only Governor Evers would come out and say to Kathleen Zellner, what can I do about this? What can I do to sort this out? Well, dude, let's start off with an evidentiary hearing and a retrial for these guys, and a proper look at all the evidence. If the evidence is all there to begin with.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
that's fine. And there's a good chance I think we're going to end up at that point anyway. But let's keep it apples to apples here.
Okay.
But
no fun in that whatsoever. Anyway.
Anyways, we're coming up on an hour, so I think we've definitely explored this topic considerably. And so I think we can wrap it up. But it's thanks for everybody for showing up. Obviously, Stephen and Brendan need all their supporters, and they need all the support they can get to keep this issue in the eye of the public, and in kind of keeping it from going away, because it needs to continue to just be talked about until ultimately the things start happening in the case. And so that's a big part of what supporting Stephen and Brendan, a big part of it is. I implore everybody out there to set the egos aside. We don't need big old drama fests over on Twitter where people are arguing with each other and fighting with each other and getting generally kind of unruly and nasty with each other. It's not helpful. It doesn't make supporters of Stephen and Brendan look good. I fortunately have been seeing the conversation on Twitter on the particular thread I'm thinking about. I've been seeing it turn to exactly what I just said. So I'm happy to see those people are eventually, deciding to put the nastiness aside. So I applaud that. Thank you very much, because we all want to be classy. We want to be respectful, and we don't want to be appearing like an unruly mob of idiots, because we want to be taken seriously as supporters of Stephen and Brendan. And So we want to be able to coexist with each other. We want to be able to deal with each other respectfully. So that's my big ask for everybody. So,
I mean, my big thing would be this: that it doesn't matter, you know, whether you're somebody that's just coming into foreign making a murder or somebody that's been at it a long time. You know, everybody is entitled to their opinions and to put forward their ideas. Okay, they you know, this idea that there was 4 or 5 RAV4s, you know, eventually they will, you know, they might have seen some stuff that leads them in that direction, but you know, they'll realize. But for me, what is most satisfying about this, that the whole of this movement that's seeking truth and justice for Teresa, Stephen, and Brendan, is the diversity of the people involved in this.
yeah.
You know, it's you know, when the guilters try and label us as being some sort of cult.
Yeah.
Well, you mean to say that people from so many different countries, from so many different backgrounds, so many social and economic backgrounds, what we're seeing is a wrongful conviction, and we're somehow part of a cult? You know, well, you know, if we're a cult, fine. I would say, excuse my French, we're a bloody good cult.
Yeah.
You know, because all we're asking for is, let's test the evidence. Let Kathleen Zellner test the stuff that, give her the rest of the stuff to test. If Stephen Avery is guilty, she will prove that he's guilty.
That's just it, right?
Yeah. What have they got to hide?
The fact that, that's absolutely a true statement, and I've said it before. Yeah. It's the fact that they're holding back and preventing from Zellner proving Stephen guilty. You know, it shows that they're afraid that they're afraid of what she'll find, and that it's going to only make their case even weaker.
Yeah,
you know.
But no, sorry, I got kind of off on a tangent there. What I was trying to say was that, you know, to all the supporters, you know, you are all equally valued. Is what I'm really trying to say. It doesn't matter whether you've made, you know, so many comments here and comments there. You are all great supporters, and just keep at it. You know, keep sharing your opinions. I mean, I just love reading all the comments. Dare I say it? I get excited when I get a comment from Charles Darwin, because I know that's going to keep me amused for a good half an hour just reading what he's written.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, you know, I actually like Charles Darwin. He's fairly respectful. I miss Dorian Hawkmoon too, man. Whatever happened to Dorian Hawkmoon, man? I liked him. You know, I thought it was awesome, man, having 2 incarnations of the champion, you know, pitted against each other. Yeah. So
anyway. I strongly suspect that Dorian is a member of law enforcement that just wanted to try and endear somehow themselves to you by realizing who Erekose was, and therefore wanted to just, you know, pique your interest, you know.
Yeah. So
anyway, listen,
it was fun.
Yeah. What was interesting was, if I remember rightly, I presume a she. I definitely sound like a she. Was of the opinion that, you know, it didn't really matter who it was that had caused Teresa's disappearance. It was more of a for her. I would say it was almost like a practical thing, a pragmatic thing. You know, how the hell is and we hear that, don't we? Right at the end of Making a Murderer Series 2, Kim Duckett basically said the same thing. How is Manitowoc County ever going to recover from their sheriff's department being shown to be this corrupt?
Right. Or at least, at least that this much question. I mean, for me, the biggest thing here The thing that you can tell that this whole situation is dishonest. All of the departments of the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department that actually had a conflict of interest were allowed on site and in the investigation, and the one department that didn't was not allowed. That is so bizarre that it just resonates. It's just so freaking bizarre. So then we'll end on that point. You know?
Dude, what's this comment from Keith Steele? Capaldi again is Mr. Magoo. How many fingers am I holding up? I don't know. I can't see them.
There you go. So
it's a reference to TikTok, as in TikTok Manitowoc.
Is it? Or is it TikTok, that video app? I don't know. Anyways. Anyways. Alrighty, folks. So we're at an hour and 5 minutes. We'll go ahead and wrap it up so that this isn't a huge thing for people to rewatch. That missed it. And had a good conversation. Thanks for being here, Mr. Capaldi.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. You asked some interesting questions.
There you go.
Hopefully, I gave you some half decent answers, but I'm not sure about that.
Well, you know, there was some talking pish in there, but you know, anyway. At least it wasn't a load of pish, so we're good.
I'm getting better.
Alrighty, folks. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe and do so for Capaldi as well. Go over on his channel and do it for him as well. So we'll see you guys.
It's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.
Bye-bye.